Hello, hello, hello. We got business cards. Anyway.
Hi everybody.
Hello.
So my computer is being a brat. But hello.
So this week we are talking about cheating and how it relates to polyamory and non-monogamy.
And so I guess we wanted to start with some definitions. So what is cheating?
Oh goodness. Normally in a monogamous relationship, cheating is when you rub your naughty bits or your very good bits against somebody else's, or when you have an emotional affair, or basically have any kind of physical, emotional, sexual intimacy with other people. That is not, on the other hand, exactly what cheating is in polyamory, or else we'd all be doing it wrong.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I still feel like even in monogamy, it can be defined as breaking an agreement. Unfortunately, sometimes in monogamy, it's an unspoken agreement. But
yeah. and you know, some monogamous relationships are like, well, emotional intimacy is okay. You can have friends. Other ones, they're like, oh, you spend too much time at your job and that counts as cheating. So it's like, it's really wibbly wobbly and it's often not defined. But like, I guess where it differs, one of the things is the aspect of consent. So cheating does not involve the consent of all partners.
mm-hmm.
Right.
So like, let's say you are in a relationship with 3 people, and one of them is known about, one of them is not, by your spouse. Well, your spouse, they know about. Your spouse does not know about your other partner.
Mm-hmm.
So they cannot consent to that.
Yeah.
Whereas, unless they have an agreement like a don't ask, don't tell, which is a consent in its own way, doesn't work for everyone.
Yeah.
So basically, to sum that up, cheating in non-monogamous relationships and in most monogamous relationships as well is when you break a relationship agreement, usually one that relates to some kind of closeness with other people.
Yes. Oh, we should stop leaning on the table. It's shaking that.
Oh goodness. So consensual non-monogamy, polyamory, relationship anarchy, well, that one's not always non-monogamy, but that is basically when you decide that it is okay to rub naughty bits and have love affairs and be close to other people aside from one central partner. And so you have to negotiate relationship agreements that outline how you do that, specifically because you don't have that standard script that we all grow up with monogamy.
Yes, and consensual non-monogamy can differ from as much as having multiple relationships with people to just like kind of the thing you said about a don't ask, don't tell policy, or maybe you have sex with people while you're on business trips or swinging.
Convention rules. Some people have party rules where, only when you go to specific events each year, you can. It's a free for all, but any other time that would be a no.
Yeah.
There can also be like varying types of polyamory, like or relationship anarchy, or relationship anarchy, solo poly, hierarchical poly. There are a lot of different ways. Yeah. Egalitarian, kitchen table. A lot of terms a lot of ways to do this, and and specifically, there are a lot of ways to do so consensually or non-consensually.
Right.
Yes.
So that's basically kind of a little overview of, what is cheating, and how does it differ from polyamory? But we want to talk about some other terms, amatonormativity and autonomy, which
Oh, those are some of my favorite terms.
yes.
Yeah, I like them. Amatonormativity is the idea that we should have this goal of one central romantic relationship in our lives that is more important not only than our other relationships, but that this is like a goal that everybody should have, and you're empty and unfulfilled if you don't have this central one romantic relationship, and that you can't have other relationships that even come close to measuring up to it.
Yes.
It's a terrible thing.
So there are problematic aspects to that, which are like what about aromantic folks who don't experience romantic attraction but can experience very strong committed platonic attraction, who can experience sexual desire, who it excludes a whole group of people from being considered as whole individual beings. And then there's what about friendships? Are friendships now not important? I mean, my friends are my world. My friends support me. My friends are there for me. Yes, that yes. So do we say just because I have a relationship, my friends are no longer important? I'm not okay with that.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that oh goodness, what's the word? It's very erasive of other cultures in which family and community is prioritized. It's not just an American concept, but it's one that is very different from certain other cultures, even if it is shared among American and some European cultures. But it's a very white-centric concept as well.
I have a really good example of that from my anthropology class that we learned about. So there's this culture, it's a caste in India called the Nayar, and they practice both polygamy and polyandry. So the women also have multiple husbands as well as the men having multiple wives. And they don't, because they are a culture that is based around, there's a lot of violence and war. So the husbands are often out fighting. The wives actually stay at home and live with their siblings, usually their brother, and their brother helps them to bring up the children. And as each husband comes back from battle, they stop in and see their wife. So, and there's this whole culture they have surrounding this where it's understood that her husbands will come and go as things carry on, and her brother is the one that helps her raise the children, and that's incredibly different from our culture. That's a very good example of that. We got comments. We should scroll down.
Oh, goodness.
Oh yes.
Hello, everybody who is saying hi to us. We very much
Hello.
appreciate your interaction.
Yeah.
So the other concept that we mentioned was autonomy, which
I did want to say before we moved on to autonomy, the other problem with the amatonormativity is it elevates cheating over other forms of dishonesty. So if someone is going to break other types of agreements or going to lie about other things, it's somehow not as big of a relationship event as someone cheating. And I don't really think that's necessarily something I'm okay with. It elevates something in a way that makes me uncomfortable. Sure, none of those things are good. But breaking rules that you both consent to at the moment is something that, or breaking like all of this is sure, lying is not good, but lying of all types not good, not just lying of the cheating variety.
Right.
So but yeah, we also mentioned autonomy in this section. So you want to start that one out? You have a lot to say on that one.
Oh, autonomy. Yeah, it's the thing that we all have that some people pretend we don't. Autonomy basically means that you have ownership over your body, your time, everything you do, and it is an integral right. Nobody has a right to tell you that you owe them certain things with your body or time or energy, and unfortunately that's something that a lot of people disagree with. It's a very common thing in monogamy, especially. Yes, that is my name, Steph. Don't wear it out.
Yes.
But yeah, it's a, in monogamy there's and in some forms of polyamory, and in other unnamed orientations that wibble around there's this idea that you owe somebody your time and energy because you're in a relationship with them. And while if you are not able to meet all their needs, or some of their needs, depending on your dynamic, they might leave you. It doesn't mean that they own you in any way or that you owe them anything, unless you specifically agree to that. And even then, you can change your mind at any point.
That's what consent is.
Yeah, you should probably just tell them that you changed your mind, just so they know, and it doesn't suck for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you're your own person. Free bird, so on and so forth. What you drinking, fam?
It's just Coke.
I got me my Diet Coke with ginger and lime, which, if you know me at all, is pretty much the only soda that I drink. All right.
You drink?
I mean, I used to drink also Diet Coke with lime without the ginger shit in it, but they don't make that anymore because Coke sucks. Okay. Coke, if you're watching this, if this ever goes viral, if you could start making that again, that would be really great.
Oh my
because it makes me sad that you don't. Okay, so carrying on.
So the other thing with rules about and them are they consensual to have rules? Because you've got someone. If there's a rule, do you really need a rule unless you're afraid someone will change their mind and want to stop them from doing that?
Oh goodness, I love this concept.
So when I first dove into polyamory, I was definitely a person who thought that you needed rules to outline what made you comfortable and uncomfortable. And I actually realized this fairly quickly, that really it's much more important to communicate your boundaries. And if people can follow your boundaries, you don't really need rules, because they understand, like, I'm not going to break this boundary because it hurts you. And that's like not consensual for you. You don't need to impose rules on them in order to do that.
But also it needs to be a two-sided thing. So if your boundaries conflict,
then you're probably not
thing.
compatible.
You should definitely,
boundaries are really,
yeah. It's a matter. It's more about compatibility than it is about needing rules. I think.
That's a whole topic that I wanted to do a live cast on as well, was boundaries versus agreements versus rules.
We will at some point do that. But I guess the point is, rules are necessary if you decide that you would not like it if someone did these things that are ouchy. And are you guys a triad?
We are not.
No, I mean, we're all relationship anarchists, so we all prioritize friendship just as much as relationships, and we are all very, very close friends. But we are not rubbing naughty bits or doing relationship titles with each other, if that's what you're asking. But, who knows? Maybe someday. Anyway, so where were we? That was a great question, actually, because
Consensuality of rules.
yes, consent. No, yes. Yes, they are. Oh, Nate. I mean,
Are you fantasizing about it? Is that why you're saying that?
I mean, no, they're not. Okay.
That was cute, though.
That was adorable.
Kind of adorable.
So whether rules are consensual or not, basically, I mean, as somebody into BDSM who does 24/7 slave dynamics with people, rules can be consensual, but you have to be willing to give up your freedom. When you make a rule with somebody, you're basically saying it will hurt me if you do XYZ. So I should be able to tell you that you cannot do XYZ because my ouchie feels are a priority over your right to be your own person. And I think, except in the case where somebody really wants to give up their freedom because that turns their naughty bits on, that's otherwise that's kind of not a cool thing to do.
Yeah, in kink dynamics, it's.
And even then, there's negotiated consent about what kind of freedom.
And you can always, as soon as you realize that it doesn't jib your giblets anymore, you can leave. Always.
Yes.
So.
And if you can't, that is not a consensual relationship.
Right. That's probably real slavery, not kink slavery. Yes and no. Don't do that, people, please.
Yes,
please
let's
don't
not do that one.
Which actually leads us into our next subject of gray areas, abuse and miscommunication.
So I have some examples with abuse because I was in a number of relationships when I was a lot younger. And during a time period I call the blank years because it was just frankly fucking terrible and full of abuse. I was going through a lot of really horrible relationships where I was getting raped. I was getting people were trying. I actually had someone attempt to kill me. It was not a good time. Anyway, during this time period, in a couple of the relationships that I was in with some folks who were very angry, very abusive, and the relationships were just completely toxic, and I didn't feel like I could get away safely. And I didn't know how to walk away because I was new to relationships. I was new to even affection at all, which is another story. But during that time period, there was a couple times with different partners that I had cheated on them. And I'm saying this with air quotes because I view it as something that maybe wasn't morally wrong, because this was a time when I was in danger. I didn't know what to do. I was not safe. And on top of that, there was the aspect of I had not felt affection from anyone. It wasn't just lonely. It was I didn't remember what a kind word felt like. And at that point, I don't know. I think it's definitely a gray area how each person views it, but I felt like I was not in a relationship so much as somewhere I was stuck.
I think with that, you also have to remember, for something to be cheating, it's breaking a relationship agreement. Relationship agreement obviously implies that both people are agreeing not just to that particular rule or agreement or boundary or whatever it is, but that they're agreeing to be in the relationship. And in the case of abuse, often you have one person who wants out or needs out and can't safely ask for that or make that happen. So I don't, you can't really have an agreement that one person is not agreeing to, even if they haven't been able to say so because they're under duress.
Yeah. Consent is not consent when it requires verbal force. Consent is not consent when So so situations like that, some people would call that cheating. I did not.
Yeah.
And then another gray area with cheating that we have is miscommunication. Oh goodness, I've had a number of situations where I have been cheated on because I thought I said some things and I sucked at saying them. One of my partners, oh goodness, I to this day I never really asked the details, but did some stuff with the partner of another partner when the two of them were drinking, and I had basically said, go ahead, do whatever, but did not think that meant they'd be putting bits together in the ways that they did. And didn't clarify because I was drinking at the time too. And so they did some stuff that I wasn't okay with, wouldn't have been okay with, and I, explained the next day, hey, look, I thought I specified before drinking that I wasn't okay with this stuff, and was more clear about what I would or wouldn't be okay with. But, they thought things that I said when I also thought I was like, in medieval times and could grow a third head were just, as valid as the stuff I'd said beforehand, because none of us were in our right minds to really make decisions. Mistakes happen. We kind of just chalked it up to a bad time and got over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there have been times where in the past, in my various polyamorous relationships where I've been unfair, and so somebody else broke an agreement that I asked for that was unfair, and then we talked about that later on, and I was like, you know what, you're right, I was being unfair, and then we moved on. And sure, maybe technically they were breaking our agreement, but I was being kind of a dick, so like that happens sometimes. And like it, you address it, and sometimes it just ends up being less of a big deal than you originally thought.
Right. One of the smartest things I ever heard was that the biggest thing that you learn when somebody breaks a relationship agreement is, it's not like that it hurts. It's not a lack of trust in them. It's that is just not a thing that they were willing to do. They are teaching you that they're not willing to do that. You shouldn't double down on your agreements and keep on with the same ones and try and earn back trust. You should go, all right, why were you not able to do this? You don't want this thing. Because if they wanted to keep that agreement, they would have. And then negotiate something different, because I see so often people are like, oh yes, we're poly, but we agreed not to have sex with somebody else without both being there, and then he did. How do I make sure he doesn't do it again, and also learn to trust him again? He just taught you that he's not willing to do that he wants to have sex with somebody while you're not there. Let him do that. He's his own person.
Like, that you need to. Sometimes it's a thing that you need to deconstruct and unpack on your own, not expect other people to do things that they're not okay with to make you not ever have to feel hurt.
And then I would also say the one thing with that, this is skipping a little ahead, but health risks are a thing that you should let your partner know about.
Oh, yes.
Like, if you do things that put them at risk and do not tell them, that's not cool.
It's also illegal in some areas. Just so you know. Nobody watching this is gonna do that. Just tell all your friends. If
you like, cheating is a thing that does happen statistically. If it happens, make sure your partners are aware of health risks. As long as, this is obviously the caveat that it's not going to result in worse danger to you.
Right.
Like, I mean, if you're in a relationship where if somebody found out they would kill you, that's not a time that it's necessarily helps to tell them.
Yeah.
Don't
Don't put your life at risk to do so. But if it's if it's an otherwise good relationship and you feel safe and there's a risk, tell them.
Yeah. I mean, ethically, that's incredibly important. That goes
Yeah.
back to consent, and that if somebody consents, for example, to vaginal sex, and then you stick your penis in their butt, then they're not okay with that. That's rape. If someone consents to having sex with you with the knowledge that you have been tested and probably do not have anything, because there is always a chance, but you have then had sex with somebody that you know is positive for something,
or even if you don't know they're positive, you don't know their status,
right,
and you do something unprotected with them.
Yeah.
Right, if you're basically upping the amount of risk, because there is always some risk in sex, but if you are upping the amount of risk or changing the amount of risk, and you're not letting your partner decide if they're willing to consent to that, then that's not cool. I mean, there's nothing wrong or dirty or shameful about having an STI, but it is important for people to know. And I mean, you may not know if your partner has developed a pregnancy. Like, sometimes little creatures inside happen, and that can be affected by STIs. You don't know if they're immunocompromised, depending on how well you know them, and that can be affected by STIs. There are many things where, even though most are not as big of a deal as the stigma makes it out to be, where it could be. You could be really fucking someone up. Don't do that.
Yeah.
So. And even if those outside chances aren't something that you're necessarily worried about with that person, there's also the aspect of, do they know to get tested? Because they have an relationship agreement that doesn't apply. Just if it's safe, to be honest, if that happens.
Yeah.
But there's also the aspect of, like, cheater versus cheated with is another thing that there's a lot of discussion on it.
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
And, like, is someone that let's say you are with someone who is in a relationship that doesn't allow for cheating.
I wrote a whole blog post on that subject.
Yes, you did. And yes, I've written some things about that too. For one, like, the person, in my view, the person who they're cheating with is, like, they're not breaking a relationship agreement. It's the other person has a choice whether to break that agreement.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if you are aiding in somebody's cheating, if you are the third party there, it is not your responsibility to make sure that they keep their agreements. Morally, unless you are actually helping them be dishonest, let's say it's your best friend's wife and your best friend, and you're also lying to your best friend, well, then you're a liar. That's kind of shitty. Don't do that, because lying's wrong. But if it's somebody you don't know and you don't know their agreements, you're not responsible for that. I question getting involved with somebody like that personally, because I want to be getting involved with people with honesty and integrity, who not only would tell their partners after if they fuck something up, but who can tell their partners beforehand what they need and what they're willing to agree to.
Yes.
That is important to me.
Yes.
So I would not get involved with somebody who was cheating, because it shows me that there are some key incompatibilities. But ethically, you are not doing anything incorrect by prioritizing the want to regulate, like you're prioritizing their partner's need to regulate what they do with their body instead of their own autonomy. And again, if they don't want to be keeping to that agreement, their autonomy kind of comes first.
Yeah. And there's also like, there's that, and there's also situations like anonymous or one night stands or things like that, where I mean, you may not even know if they have a partner, you may not care.
Yeah, glory holes. You don't know who they are.
Yeah.
Glory holes are great.
Derek posted, if they know that you're going behind your partner's back, they're just as wrong.
I think that's what we're speaking to. I think, Derek, that we might have differing opinions. It is a very complicated issue. I shared your opinion for many years, very vehemently, and have recently changed mine. I don't know if it's something that we can get into in that much depth. If you would like to discuss it more, I think that would be a great thing to discuss. Maybe in the group we can open a discussion on it. I would be happy to share my blog post on the subject where I go into a lot of depth as to why I changed my opinion there. But yeah, it is a very complex subject, and I did think that for years, so I do get why you might have that feeling there.
Yeah, and it's the wrongness of it is in the lying.
Yeah,
but the thing is that the other person has autonomy. Like, everyone involved has autonomy. So Steph gave an example of a situation. So someone who has a poly partner, they say they can do whatever they want to, but their poly partner does not want them to have other partners.
How do we categorize it? Okay, so 1, have they agreed not to have other partners? If they said, I will not do this thing, and then they do it, they're cheating in the sense that they're being dishonest about something that relates to intimacy with others.
Yeah.
If they say, okay, you can want whatever you want, but buddy, I'm going to do what I want with my body, then they're not cheating. They are prioritizing their own autonomy. Their partner can be not okay with it as much as they'd like, but you can be hurt by a lot of things that are not ethically wrong.
Yeah, and at that point, if there's that incompatibility of desires, the problem, and you're both being upfront about that, the problem is, okay, so is this incompatibility something worth ending the relationship over? Or is this incompatibility something that is small enough to us that
we can work through it?
That either we can work through it, or I'm willing to overlook this aspect because it just isn't big enough to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Or should I walk away?
Right.
Because
it says
that would be a situation where, and I often recommend this to people, that you talk to a therapist, a counselor. I mean, that is why they're there, to help with stuff like that, because that's hard.
Right.
That's not an easy thing to just be like, oh, well, I know it's not easy when you don't want to leave and you have such an incompatibility, but
yeah, so definitely therapists are very helpful in that situation. I mean, even just to suss out what it is you really want.
Yeah. And Steph said they haven't agreed to avoid other partners. So again, you're not breaking an agreement. You're not being dishonest. That is not cheating. You're doing a thing that hurts your partner, but
Yeah. So
I mean,
it doesn't mean that it's not hurtful. It doesn't mean that it's something the other partner has to live with.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is something that is not necessarily cheating.
Right.
But it doesn't make it easier. It doesn't make it less something that needs to be, one, discussed, two, work through in some fashion, or three, if it's something they can't live with, then
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think that, that goes back to, again, the fact that because it relates to intimacy with other people, there's this idea that that's worse than other kinds of breaking agreements. And I really don't think that's the case. I mean, if my partner told me that they would only let me, I don't know. I haven't had any of these kind of agreements for a long time. If I was the only one who could have certain BDSM dynamics with them, and then they kind of did a scene with somebody else and involved that would hurt, because I'd been lied to. But like, if they told me that they were going to their mom's house for a day and then disappeared to Cancun for 2 weeks, no sex with other people or anything, but they were just gone for a while, that would hurt a lot more. I'd be a lot more worried than if, so just, there are a lot of ways you can be dishonest that hurt a lot more than just having sex with other people or being involved with other people.
So Steph said, no, the poly partner is married and wants the two partners to not have any other partners.
Yeah, I mean, that sucks, but it's, they can want that as much as they want. It's still not something they can decide for someone else.
Yeah, it's not something they get to decide, and it's also something that seems a little bit crappy, I guess, because if they're allowed to have other partners and their partners aren't.
Yeah.
As someone who went through that and was on that end of not wanting other people to do things or whatever, I would once again, I'd recommend that person who's having those problems reevaluate things, kind of deconstruct it a little bit, maybe go to therapy, because that's what helped me. Figure out why that's making them uncomfortable, and then figure out if they can still do what they're doing. And if they want to, and they're like, okay, I don't want to leave my partners, then they have to figure out how they can be okay with it moving forward, not try to control them.
Yeah, because ultimately a person's body is their own and their choices are their own. Yeah. And maybe they aren't compatible, or maybe they are, but it's just because one person is uncomfortable doesn't mean the other person automatically loses their autonomy, no matter how intertwined they are.
Yep. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, your body is your own consent. So we talked a little bit about health disclosing in terms of health risks. And there's like some people. So one thing I would say when it comes to disclosure, like, think ahead before, or if you can, before a situation like this comes up, try and think about how you would react, what you want people to know. Have frank discussions with people. Like, I don't I don't expect this situation to come up, but if it does, these are my thoughts on it. Re-examine your thoughts.
Right.
Just be open and communicate about things, about more than just, do I like you? What are your interests? But also about, one thing I talk about a lot of times with relationships, what happens if it ends? How do we work this out? Do we want to remain friends? Do we want to not speak? What do we do in cases like, how does it work? How does ending look? Because then when it comes, you can be closer to a person because you know that what they're okay with and what they're not okay with. And in the same way, you can talk about, what happens if various scenarios happen, like cheating or, So Tonya said, "This is all new to me and just curiosity, but I have desires to have a boyfriend and girlfriend, and I'm not sure I want a triad. Last boyfriend told me I'm selfish to not want to share the woman. I told him that some people live just fine like this, but he says no and crazy."
Oh,
You are not
All right.
crazy.
Well,
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
One, you're not crazy. Totally normal to have relationships where your partners are not involved. But, I will say it's not selfish, but you don't get to share or not share somebody else because
They have autonomy.
yeah, if they choose,
It's their body.
right. You don't get to tell them that they have to be with both of you, but in the same sense, you can't tell them that they're not allowed to either. That is all on them. They get to decide.
It's them saying in the first place that you aren't willing to share them. They're not yours to share. They're your own person. Their own person. And that's what I would say the next time somebody says that to you.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. The person is not a possession. You cannot choose whether or not to share them because you do not own them.
Yeah, and you can tell them, hey, look, I'm not okay with you dating my boyfriend, but they can also say, I appreciate you telling me that, but it's not your choice.
Also, it's terribly rude for him to call you crazy, but I'm sure you know that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, let's see. That's back to.
So this looks like it's
Okay.
So this one I think references back to what Steph said. Frank said, "Then it seems like the married partner has a control issue and is not taking into consideration how the two partners feel about being poly. If they really want to be with the others, then who they are married to, then they have to accept that the two partners will want to be with others as well." I would say, or at least give them the freedom to make their own autonomy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point, Frank.
So
James was saying about, discussing what happens if there is cheating, discussing that before. I think that's also very important. I like to have discussions when I get involved with somebody that basically go along the line of, is there anything we need to agree to for your comfort or for mine? And I want you to know that anytime those things don't work, you can come tell me. And if you tell me beforehand, you've done nothing wrong. If you decide to change it and tell me afterwards, I'm going to feel lied to, but you doing what's best for you is still okay.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have to work through the fact that I feel lied to
Yeah.
if we want to stay together. But, I have not had a single issue with someone hiding, cheating from me since I made sure to create a safe environment with partners where they know that they can come to me and it's not an issue. And I'm not going to get angry. I'm not going to yell. I'm going to go, oh, wow, okay. That agreement didn't work. Let's change it.
yeah, I think creating a safe environment for someone to say no is incredibly important.
Oh, yeah.
Like if someone knows that if something goes wrong, you're not going to be angry.
Yeah.
You're not going to lash out.
Yeah.
They're a lot more likely to come to you. One, two, it's safe, or it makes them more willing. It aids in consent.
Yeah, for sure. And even if you do get angry, like I've told partners who cheated on me within the last year, when it happened, hey, this hurts a lot. I thought that we had agreed this was not a thing we'd do. I'm upset. I am angry, and I am going to just need some time to calm down. And then afterwards, we're going to talk about this, and we're going to be all right. But I'm feeling a lot of things right now. So give me a little bit of comfort, give me a little bit of space, and then we'll work on things.
Yeah.
Be reasonable. Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish when I first started, I wish I had, I'm glad I made this community with you guys. It's like the best thing ever. But I wish I had access to something like this because I had all of these questions too, and it was really hard to navigate. It's not emotionally easy.
Yeah.
Another thing is one of the things that we'll be talking about definitely in its own live cast is jealousy and how to keep jealousy from overcoming autonomy.
Yeah.
But so that is something that will be a thing that we talk about.
And we should address that wonderful Twitter post that we saw about jealousy versus possessiveness.
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
that was a great thing.
That was
We
a
will
good
we will
thing.
do a live cast on that, people.
Yes.
Just remember, jealousy is a really hard emotion to feel.
It is.
It is, for me, one of the scariest things. I get all shaky and I can't breathe and my face turns red and sometimes I get mildly turned on, but like most of the time I want to hurt things. I don't do well with jealousy. I'm not a violent person and it makes me want to hurt things. And that's when it is most important to realize that you are feeling some hard, really overwhelming, scary things, but at no point does that make it okay to control another human being, and that sometimes people are going to do things that really hurt you, and it doesn't mean that they love you less. They might, but it doesn't necessarily mean that, and it doesn't mean that what they're doing is wrong. It sucks and it hurts, but it's not necessarily wrong.
Okay, so Cameron said, just curious, what kind of things do you folks specifically consider cheating in relationships?
Oh, I want to answer this one really quick.
Yes.
I mean, we did address this earlier, and they'll probably repeat what we said earlier. But in my relationship with my most central partner, we can do anything with other people, but it is cheating if one of us watches wrestling without the other. That's it. That is it. That is
That's
the only
hilarious.
thing. He watched wrestling with his sister, and he cheated on me with his sister. It was horrible. But yes, that's it, because we don't rules at each other anymore.
So, sorry.
Go ahead.
I have different agreements or just like discussions with different partners, but with my longest standing partner, we kind of have an agreement that like if one of us is away on like a trip, because that happens sometimes, and we meet somebody, because normally we like to tell each other like, hey, I'm into this person, I'm gonna go out with them or whatever. But say you're away and we don't have the ability to contact each other, and you're like into someone, I've told him like, please go for it and like just tell me later. And like we have that like understanding that that's a thing that might happen. But just like inform me that you did a thing. Like that's really it.
Yeah, I think it's cheating specifically is just when you have, it's lying in the context of breaking an agreement and not, it's not communicating and then doing something that breaks an agreement without communicating that you were not okay with that agreement.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it is, if you say that you're not going to do XYZ with Sally Joe down the street, and then you do, that's cheating. If you tell your partner that you want to do that and they say, no, you can't, and you go, yeah, I can, I'm gonna, not cheating. You didn't agree to it.
Yeah.
But if you agree not to, and you don't let them know that your feelings have changed, and you do it, it's cheating. But really, I mean, I'm all for abolishing the term and calling it all lying, because that's kind of the shitty part. It doesn't matter that it's, like when Kelev watched wrestling without me, I was hurt because I missed seeing a really important announcement. I wanted to see his face during that, and he misled me. I thought I was going to be able to watch it with him. But I don't, if you rub naughty bits with somebody else and I wasn't there, I'd more hurt by the wrestling.
And I like that post, the Kimchi Cuddles comic that talks about different types of monogamy. I can't remember which one Watching Shows Together falls under. I think it's social monogamy or something like that, where
Yeah.
you're like, this is our show. We only watch this with each other.
Right, and for some people, that is so
It's
important.
really important, yeah.
It's a special bonding thing, and you miss out on the very first time. But why cheat when you're so open? Just to make it clear, when I'm talking about Caleb doing that, like, well, technically he cheated. Not a problem. Like, we have a also thing where we forgive each other for everything because it really doesn't matter in the long run. People make mistakes. But all right, why cheat when you're so open, when you're totally cool with everything, so open and understanding? Sorry, but it sounds like a kick to the teeth. Yeah, it sucks. And I mean, I had that happen with another partner in a situation where it actually was cheating. That was a while back, but within the past year, it sucked. It turns out it was a miscommunication, but I was really hurt and angry. And then I realized that he was sad that he hurt me, that clearly our agreement was too restrictive, so we changed it, and that I was feeling some scared feels that maybe him doing that thing meant he didn't care or was going to leave me or I wasn't good enough. So I told him to give me a lot of hugs and tell me that wasn't true, assuming it wasn't true. It wasn't, and all was well in the end.
Yeah, and I think a lot of things with cheating is not necessarily... I mean, there are situations where people like the thrill of it, and those are honestly just shitty actions.
Yeah.
But there's also situations where it's just like, there are situations where people make mistakes.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of discussing it and figuring out what you are and aren't okay with. And I know we're going to do the jealousy one another time, but I did want to say a little bit about that because there is it does seem like a lot of people have a lot of thoughts on that. So everyone does feel jealousy sometimes, pretty much. Like, almost. I almost never feel it, but I still feel it sometimes. It's something that happens. You're not alone in feeling it. It's about realizing why you are feeling it and thinking about how you can address the root cause.
Yeah.
So it's not that you're wrong for feeling jealousy. It's that you got to think about why you're feeling it and seeing how you can address that cause. Mm-hmm. Is there is someone, are you feeling lonely? Are you feeling like they don't care about you and they care more about the other person? Can you ask for reassurance? Are they okay with giving reassurance? Mm-hmm. It's more of a discussion than a monogamy in some senses, but it's still a thing. Yeah.
I hardly ever feel it is that bad. No, that is not bad. Jealousy is not normally a primary emotion. It comes from other root causes. Oftentimes people feel jealousy because they have a fear of losing something, because they feel an insecurity, because they feel possessiveness, because they worry about change, how the new situation is going to affect their life. So you not feeling it means that you probably don't have those root issues. You're
feeling secure in your relationships.
Yeah, you're feeling secure in your relationships, or if you're not, that it manifests in other ways, and that is not abnormal.
Also, like, I was just thinking about this when you were talking about it. Like, I normally feel envy more often than I feel jealousy, but I think that sometimes it's important to recognize that the cause cannot be addressed, and you have to figure out a different way to work through that emotion. I'm just going to give an example. In one of my relationships, which is long distance, I feel envious when I think about that person dating other people. And the reason that I feel that is simply because I can't be with them because they are not physically close. That is hard. That is a very hard thing to deal with, but it's just trying to find a different way to work through those emotions and feel close in other ways. There isn't a whole lot I can do otherwise. And like sometimes it's just going to be really hard and hurt. And just like finding ways to make yourself feel better is important too.
Tonya says fear of abandonment or them liking more than you. Yeah, I mean, I definitely. I have a partner that does a thing where sometimes he just walks out of the picture for a while and then comes back. So I have a lot of fear of abandonment in that situation because it's kind of a thing that happens. And I've decided that the relationship is worth continuing for me despite the fact that that's a thing that happens, especially because it's something that he cannot really control because of some of the trauma that he's gone through. But yeah, I have that fear. Can't really fix it. I can't really make it go away because it's rooted in real life things that are true. So I sit with it. I sit with it and I imagine the worst case scenario, if he were to leave and not come back or be with somebody else, still be in my life, not be with me in any way and rub it in my face.
Yeah.
And I look at that and I imagine it and I sit with it and I go, can I survive this? And if the answer is yes, then I feel okay.
Yeah.
Because thus far I've not found anything that I truly, like sometimes I get all melodramatic and I think I won't survive it, but I know underneath that I will. I've been through worse.
Yeah.
So I can live with it.
Fear of abandonment is my worst issue too. And I had a therapist, my therapist that I regularly see, I told her about it and she's like, well, there's no, because at the time I didn't think it was like legitimate to feel that way. And she was like, well, if it's happened to you repeatedly, then your fear is valid. And my other therapist said that the thing is remembering that you can survive without them, which is hard.
Yeah.
That's really hard, but yeah.
So Laura wanted to know if she could message you. I just want to say to anybody who has anything they want to talk about, our mod team is always open. Every single one of us is willing to be here for you, to help you through anything. You can message us about stuff that comes up in the live cast. You can come to us. We are not licensed therapists. we may one day have a licensed therapist working with us.
We would like to have that.
But we are not, but we will do anything in our power to help you. So if you have anything you'd like to ask us, please
feel free to message.
Oh, yes,
and then
please do.
And you absolutely can message me, Laura.
Yes.
and you're also welcome to message us really about like any problems in the group, we're open to conversation if you just want to talk to somebody.
If you need someone to talk to, oh God, I'm friendly. I'm really, really friendly. I'm really foul-mouthed, but I'm really friendly and I like people. Please talk to me. I'm lonely and sad, So.
Yeah, reach out.
We
didn't introduce ourselves.
Oh my goodness, I am so sorry. You're
James.
Tonya. We fucked up. I'm Rhaegar. It's from Game of Thrones. It's my real name. I am that awesome. You can call me Ray.
I'm James. I am, James or James Avery or whoever. And
I'm Danny.
Yes.
I'm Danielle. I have my whole name on Facebook, but everybody calls me Danny.
And it's nice to meet y'all. And now you finally know who you're talking to.
And all of the folks who are on the mod team or on the mods or admins are listed in a pinned post with the rules.
Yeah.
So if you want to, if you need to message us and you're not sure which Danny it is in the group or which James or something, just look in the rules, look in the announcements, and you'll find us, and you can just click on our name and message us.
Yeah.
I can't do the click. Okay.
Let's see.
Oh.
And nice to meet you as well.
Yep. So I think, the last bit of our jealousy thing is I guess we're going to share a few of our personal... Laura.
Thank
yeah,
you.
you're right. Danny does have the best laugh ever.
Thank you.
So I guess we're going to share a little of our personal experiences unless you have any other questions. Does anybody have any other questions relating to jealousy?
Or relating to cheating.
Or sorry. Oh, goodness. I just completely... Yeah, you're right. We're talking about cheating. Anyone have any questions relating to cheating? We're going to start talking about our experiences. Interrupt us with your questions.
Yeah.
I can go first. Unless you...
Either way.
So, yeah, when I was younger, I had some really restrictive relationships, and I definitely screamed at and threw stuff at a partner when I found out he cheated on me.
Mm-hmm.
And then this past year, I had another partner cheat on me, and I reacted by, like I've said earlier in this, basically been like, hey, you fucked up. This isn't what we agreed to. Why? And turned out he misunderstood what we agreed to, and we fixed it, and I felt hurt for all of like a day and a half, and then got over it because I realized that it wasn't the end of the world, and it doesn't mean that someone's a bad person or going to leave you.
Yeah.
How can I help a monogamous couple decouple ideas about cheating from ideas about autonomy? They're in a monogamous couple. Unless they both want to, you're not gonna. But
Yeah.
If that's something that they want, then
yeah.
If that's something they want, I don't know, show them this video, show them some of your posts on the Explosions of Rainbows blog.
Yeah, my blog. I
Yeah.
write all about this shit.
There's lots of great books on it. A lot of the polyamory books that
more than
we
two.
recommended.
Yeah, they have one just on jealousy too.
Yep.
More than two definitely has a jealousy. I think a jealousy workbook just on theirs, and they also the Girl's Guide to Polyamory by Dedeker Winston. She has a lot in there about autonomy and stuff and deconstructing. And,
Polyland is good. There's a blogger called The Ferret who has some really good stuff.
I know for me, the thing that got me over, helped me understand poly and helped me understand, maybe not necessarily helping with cheating, but definitely helped me with jealousy and understanding of autonomy was The Ethical Slut. Specifically not the first edition. I've heard horrible things about the first edition,
Get the
but
second.
the second or the third are much better.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a third.
Yeah, it just came out recently. I have it on Kindle.
Oh, I might have to check that out.
It has more coverage of queer topics, actually.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, society tells people that you own your partners, that they are a possession, that they owe you a certain allegiance and loyalty, and therefore should be doing things to make you happy at their own expense. It's hard to work around that.
I just realized that this would be a good time to plug the support group.
Yes.
Oh, hey, so y'all need some help. We are going to be having a monthly support group.
Yeah.
That's a great place where you can talk to us about this kind of stuff in a lot more depth. You won't have to type it all out and then wait for us to read it. And you can hear Danny's laugh in person, which is even better than it is on here.
Aww.
Yes, and it's going to be, so we're looking, it looks right now like it's going to be on, what was it, the first Friday in first Friday in February and the first Friday in general
of the month. Yeah.
So
Steph said, I like your cat. I would like your cat artwork. Who do I need to negotiate with? Oh, that would be me. This is my house with the old lady wallpaper and everything, and the cats. That unfortunately was a Christmas gift from my family last year, and if I got rid of it, they would be very upset. So I will do my best. I will Google search some shit and see if maybe there's an artist's name on the back, and if I can find somewhere you can get the same print. Well, not print, it's a wooden board hanging there, but if I can figure out where it's from, I will send you that link.
And we were talking about some personal we were talking about some personal experiences. I've mentioned the times that I cheated were a couple times in some very abusive relationships. I know that I told the person very quickly, and but like it was, those are really my main experiences with it. I mean, I'm sure I've had people cheat on me or whatever, but I can't really think of any, I guess, because I just don't know. I'm very open with my relationships. I'm partnered with, be with people they want to be with. I don't know. I don't.
You're good at shit.
You are.
It's true.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just want people to do what makes them happy, because I want my autonomy respected. So I want the autonomy of the people that I care about respected as well. And that includes respected by me.
God, yeah. I used to be a really controlling person.
Same.
I was a shitbird,
Yeah.
and I realized at some point that it was okay if other people wanted things that were different from what I wanted. It was okay if someone didn't love me, or if they weren't compatible. It was okay for someone to be their own person. And, it was scary, but I would survive whatever I went through, because after enough trauma, you kind of realize that you can.
Yeah.
And that all the stuff that I felt like I couldn't survive, I had.
Yeah.
So then there was nothing left, except maybe like a stake to the heart, or a silver bullet. But like normal things, even they're not gonna like.
Yeah.
But yeah, like once you realize that you're gonna survive shit and it's gonna hurt, but you're gonna make it, it becomes kind of silly to think that it is worth taking away someone else's freedom and telling them that their life has to center around your wants as opposed to theirs, just because you're scared of something and don't want something to happen that you could live through.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think sometimes I think about that. There's this quote in, I think it's the first episode of Heroes, and I don't remember it exactly, but I'll paraphrase it. It's saying, what if God was a cockroach? They can survive a nuclear war. They can survive basically anything. And I sometimes kind of think of myself like that. Not that I like cockroaches. They scare the living jeebus out of me. But I've lived through... Yeah, you're weird. I lived through, so many things. And I'm not... Like, I've survived everything up to this point. I've survived abuse. I've survived rape. I've survived all sorts of things. I'm alive. I'm here. And I'm still happy. And I still have the capacity for happiness.
Yeah.
And I still care about myself. And I'm proud of myself for getting through things. And emotional hurts will not kill me unless I let them.
Which reminds me, we should put a trigger warning on our next video. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Now I kind of brained that.
I did too when we were talking about everything. But
guys, we talk about some hard shit. I'm sorry. Next time we'll warn you.
Yeah.
We fucked up there, but everyone makes mistakes, so yes, they do. Sesame Street songs in my head.
That you were just talking about is kind of what I was going to say, is that the biggest thing that I learned through people breaking relationship agreements and things is that I was shitty and controlling at times, and it's really important to give people the opportunity to say, to say no or to say I'm uncomfortable with that or whatever. And I didn't always do that. And that is like the lesson that I would give to other people is let other people know that you are not going to freak out on them so that they feel comfortable being honest with you. That was a huge thing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just creating a safe environment for communication.
Oh yeah, give people no reason to lie to you, and if you make it super scary for them to tell the truth, then lying's still not cool. But don't be surprised if they do.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a yeller.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, and like, why is somebody going to tell me something if I'm gonna then scream in their face? It would have been nice if they were honest, but that was on me. Be okay with people trusting you with their truths, and you will hear a lot more of them and a lot less lies.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and respect, and make sure enforce your own boundaries. Make sure that
use your nose.
The more you say no, the more your yeses mean something.
Yeah, that's true.
Dylan,
That's
addressing your comment there about how we would benefit from an intro and outro. If you would like to produce some music for us, or if you know someone who would, that would be fantastic. 'Cause I would love that.
Yeah. I could sing a little ditty, but then nobody would watch. So, yeah.
If you want to do that thing, you can totally send us some samples. I'd love that.
Yes.
Yeah. We'll take all the
Seinfeld.
No. Nope. Hard stop. I have a boundary right here, and
Seinfeld theme is apparently one of them.
I mean, I can't. I've never watched Seinfeld, but I've made a point not to, and I'm not going to begin just because I want to be part of these live casts. So,
Nate, do you mean George? Probably. I can ask. I didn't think of it.
Yeah. Doesn't Adam do something with audio stuff?
I think so. Yeah, I think he does that too.
We'll ask some people. Maybe we can make a cute little thing. I could draw some little cartoon characters, and we'll make a little
hop.
Yeah.
They come hop across the camera.
Look at us. These stick figures are the people who you'll see this week. It's different every week, but we use the same ones because they're stick figures. And you can't tell the difference. So,
are we stick figures too?
I mean, that is not stick. That's significantly more than stick. I am a donut figure, both because that is my main substance and because that is the shape of my stomach. So, I think we're pretty much done for the night. Does anyone have any last remarks? Dylan, you are stick figures, yes. No, we're not, Dylan. I love you, but this is a example of how somebody can be wrong, and it's still okay. That is hurtful. You are incorrect, and you do not see my identity as a donut figure. But you are still an ethical human being, so it's okay. I still love you. Yeah, now we're
You're
just, I
welcome.
can do, oh my God, yes, please do us like chippies. I will be small and adorable, and
You're already small and adorable.
I am
You
just
are.
really
You
heckin'
are.
short. It's true. I'm pretty short.
Oh, you're
Oh,
welcome.
come out to the meetups, guys. If
Yes.
you have not gone to one of our events, you guys are going to hear it first from here. If you're tuned in right now, all 3 viewers that we have now, I think it's actually more than 3 people who are talking to us right now even. But we are planning on doing a, what the fuck are they called? A meet and greet. A meet and greet in January. I apologize for my language. Meet and greet in January. That will be, did we decide it's the 2nd Thursday of the month?
Yeah, I think.
Second Thursday of the month, which I'm going to look at my calendar and give you an exact date. We're going to do that one at the Holy Hound in York because we love y'all York people. That's me.
And me.
And yeah, Danny basically lives here half the time.
Kind of do.
All right, so that will be on the 10th of January at the Holy Hound. We'll put an event page up soon. And then on the, was it the 26th?
Yeah, the 26th. is the potluck.
26th, we're doing a potluck. That's at Danny's house. That's a little bit ways outside of Harrisburg.
It is. It's in Dauphin, but my house
and-
is the biggest besides yours.
Steph said that, oh yes, you're in York. That is wonderful. Please come out to our thing. We would love if you could do that. And the Holy Hound has the best burgers. Frank, shame you work Thursday. Well, the other one is on Saturday. We have one during the weekdays and one on the weekends. So hopefully we can work around y'all's work schedules.
Yes.
And yeah, the support groups are gonna be on Friday nights.
Yeah,
First
the
Friday.
first Friday of
First-
the month at the LGBT Center in Harrisburg.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is in Midtown.
So, and then we will also be having workshops at some point there as well. Quarterly workshops. So, FYI, there will be an explosion of events soon.
There
Oh,
will be
yeah.
lots of events.
We've also talked about the possibility of doing outings to other places, like arcades, ski resorts, hookah bars, zoos, other things
That would be
just
fun.
be a lot of fun. If you have suggestions, I will create a post about it.
Oh,
For
especially
just other events.
Especially, like, I've talked about this off and on for a while. I would like to do more family-friendly stuff for those of you who, like
Yes,
me, have kids and can't always come out to things because of your kids. I would like to have family-friendly events as well. So if you have
Yes.
suggestions for that, I'd love to hear that too.
Ooh, parks. There's a park right by my house.
Yeah.
By mine too.
Yeah, no, it's almost like we're neighbors.
Yeah, it kind of is. We live like 2 blocks away. Yes, Steph, that is January 10th for the Holy Hound. And yeah, it's exciting. Hookah bars. Yeah, I was talking with somebody about that. No, I don't know, maybe like 3 days ago. I'm gonna arrange a thing. I'll post about it. Anybody who wants to come can come. May not be an official group thing, but I'm basically gonna tell y'all where I'll be at a hookah bar. So if you show up, that would be really cool.
Well, that would be fun to have a meet and greet at Dave and Buster's too. Dave and Buster's just opened. In
Is that
Campbell.
for reals a thing?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like a bunch of guys. It's a gay
Oh.
bar. It's not really, but it should be. Dave and Buster's, like, I don't know. All right.
It's an arcade. For,
Yeah,
Okay,
I've
yeah.
seen it. I walked through there when I was younger, I think, at one point. A long time ago.
I mean, it'd be cool if it was a gay bar. I'm not gonna lie. I'd go there more often.
Yeah, Dick and Hard-Ons or something. Like, should be a gay arcade. Hookah. I was thinking about doing the hookah bar in Lancaster. It's called Ursa Lunar. They just created like a VIP room upstairs, and it's really great. But
Oh,
I
God, I
do
wanna do
also
that.
really like, and they have a lot of board games, but I do really like the one in York too. The owner there is someone that I casually know, and that I talk to her every time because I admire her freaking Camaro. And she used to go to the place that I worked. But yeah, the one in York also really good. I will do all of them.
Yeah.
Rotating
I love
hookah
hookah bars.
things, like give me some sweet nicotine. We'll have a good time. Yeah. All right.
I think that's it. If nobody has any questions.
That's all. We'll be creating posts for the events in January. I will create a post asking about other events y'all want to do, like either through the group or just casual things. We can hang out. If y'all have any other ideas, message us. If you want to take away my loneliness, message me. Yeah.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Good
Good night.